Picture this. A shadowy figure glides silently through the halls of an ancient castle, its presence felt but never seen. Whispers of a tragic past echo through the air, and the weight of history presses down like an unseen hand. This is not just a ghost story, it's a glimpse into the chilling intersection of history and the supernatural. From the blood-soaked grounds of medieval fortresses to the eerie silence of abandoned asylums, the world is filled with places where the past refuses to rest. These are not just haunted locations, they are windows into the lives, deaths, and mysteries of those who came before us. In this video, we'll journey through 25 of the most haunted places on Earth, each with its own spine-tingling tales and historical significance. From cursed castles to tragic plantations, these sites remind us that sometimes the past is never truly buried. So, if you're ready to uncover the secrets of these haunted landmarks, stay with us, because what you're about to discover will leave you questioning what lies beyond the veil of history. Now, let's step into the shadowy corridors of one of the most infamous landmarks in history, the Tower of London. This iconic fortress, standing tall along the River Thames, is not just a symbol of royal power, but also a place steeped in bloodshed, betrayal, and restless spirits. For centuries, the tower has served as a royal palace, a prison, and even a site of execution, earning its reputation as one of the most haunted places in England. Among the many ghostly figures said to roam its grounds, none is more famous than Anne Boleyn, the ill-fated second wife of King Henry VIII. After being accused of treason and adultery, Anne was executed within the tower's walls in the year 1536. Her spirit is often seen wandering near the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula, where she was laid to rest. Witnesses claim she appears headless, a chilling reminder of her tragic end. But Anne is not the only restless soul haunting the tower. The story of the princes in the tower, Edward V and his younger brother Richard, remains one of history's most enduring mysteries. These young heirs to the throne were imprisoned in the tower by their uncle, Richard III, and were never seen again. Their disappearance has fueled centuries of speculation, and their spirits are said to linger in the bloody tower where they were last held. Visitors have reported hearing the faint laughter of children and feeling an inexplicable sense of sorrow in the area. The tower's dark history doesn't end there. From the tortured cries of prisoners to the phantom footsteps of long-dead guards, the atmosphere is thick with the weight of centuries of suffering. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the Tower of London stands as a powerful reminder of the human stories behind its stone walls, stories of ambition, betrayal, and tragedy that continue to echo through time. As we leave the tower behind, our journey takes us next to another site where history and the supernatural collide, the eerie halls of Eastern State Penitentiary in the United States. But more on that in just a moment. Now, let's cross the Atlantic and step into the crumbling, haunting halls of Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This massive, foreboding structure, with its Gothic-style architecture and decaying cell blocks, is more than just an abandoned prison. It's a place where history and horror intertwine. Opened in 1829, Eastern State was once the most expensive and technologically advanced prison in the world, designed to reform inmates through solitary confinement. But over the decades, it became a place of despair, suffering, and, some say, lingering spirits. Among its most infamous inmates was Al Capone, the notorious gangster who spent time here in the 1930s. Capone's cell, still preserved today, is said to be haunted by his restless spirit. Visitors have reported hearing faint jazz music and the sound of a man sobbing, believed to be Capone himself, tormented by guilt and isolation. But Capone is just one of many spirits said to roam these halls. The prison's oppressive atmosphere is palpable, with reports of ghostly apparitions wandering the cell blocks, disembodied voices echoing through empty corridors, and sudden drops in temperature that leave visitors chilled to the bone. Some have even claimed to see shadowy figures darting between cells or felt an unseen presence following them as they explore the crumbling ruins. One of the most haunted areas is Cell Block 12, where inmates were subjected to brutal punishments and prolonged isolation. Visitors often describe feeling an overwhelming sense of dread here, as if the walls themselves are alive with the pain and anguish of those who suffered within them. The prison's dark history, combined with its eerie present, makes it a magnet for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers alike. As we leave the chilling confines of Eastern State Penitentiary, our journey takes us next to the elegant yet haunted Château de Brissac in France, where a tragic tale of love and betrayal awaits. But more on that soon. Now, let's journey from the grim corridors of Eastern State Penitentiary to the lush, rolling landscapes of France, where the Château de Brissac stands as a breathtaking yet eerie testament to history. Known as the Giant of the Loire Valley, this towering castle is the tallest in France, its elegant turrets and grand architecture masking a dark and violent past. But beneath its beauty lies a haunting tale of betrayal, murder, and restless spirits. At the heart of Château de Brissac's ghostly lore is the tragic story of the Green Lady. Legend has it that in the 15th century, the castle's lord discovered his wife in the arms of another man. Consumed by rage, he murdered them both, leaving their bodies to be discovered by their young daughter. The trauma of that moment is said to have bound the wife's spirit to the castle, forever wandering its halls in a flowing green gown. Visitors and staff have reported countless sightings of the Green Lady over the centuries. She is often seen gliding through the castle's opulent rooms, her face etched with sorrow, or heard weeping in the dead of night. Some claim to have felt her icy presence brush past them, while others have caught fleeting glimpses of her figure in mirrors or windows. Her ghostly presence is a chilling reminder of the castle's violent history, a story of love turned to tragedy. But the Green Lady isn't the only spirit said to haunt Château de Brissac. The castle's long and tumultuous past, filled with political intrigue, wars, and untimely deaths, has left its mark. Phantom footsteps echo in empty corridors, and strange lights flicker in rooms long abandoned. The air itself seems heavy with the weight of centuries-old secrets, making it a magnet for those fascinated by the supernatural. As we leave the haunting beauty of Château de Brissac, our next stop takes us to the American South, where the Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana holds its own dark and tragic tales. But more on that soon. Now, let's cross the Atlantic and step into the haunting world of the American South, where the Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana stands as a chilling reminder of a bygone era. Known as one of America's most haunted homes, this sprawling plantation is steeped in tragedy, mystery, and ghostly tales that have captivated visitors for generations. The Myrtles Plantation's history is as dark as the Spanish moss that drapes its ancient oak trees. Built in the late 18th century, the plantation was once a bustling estate, but its past is marred by stories of betrayal, murder, and restless spirits. Among the most famous of these spirits is Chloe, a former enslaved woman whose tragic story has become the cornerstone of the plantation's haunting lore. According to legend, Chloe was enslaved at the plantation and caught the eye of the estate's owner. When she was discovered eavesdropping on a private conversation, her punishment was severe. Her ear was cut off. Desperate to regain favor, Chloe allegedly baked a cake laced with poisonous oleander leaves, intending to serve it to the family. However, the plan went horribly wrong, and instead of the owner, his wife and 2 children consumed the cake, leading to their untimely deaths. Overcome with guilt, Chloe was later hanged by her fellow enslaved people, and her spirit is said to haunt the plantation to this day. Visitors to the Myrtles Plantation have reported countless encounters with Chloe's ghost. She is often seen wandering the grounds or peering through windows, her face partially obscured by a green turban, which she supposedly wore to hide her severed ear. Others have heard the faint sound of her footsteps echoing through the halls, or felt an inexplicable chill in rooms where she is said to linger. But Chloe isn't the only spirit said to haunt this historic property. The plantation's long and troubled history, including its ties to slavery and the Civil War, has left an indelible mark. Ghostly figures have been spotted in the mirrors, their reflections appearing even when no one is present. Mysterious deaths and unexplained occurrences have only added to the plantation's eerie reputation, making it a magnet for paranormal investigators and curious visitors alike. As we leave the haunting shadows of the Myrtles plantation, our journey continues to the rugged highlands of Scotland, where Edinburgh Castle looms over the city, its ancient stones whispering tales of bloodshed and spectral sightings. But more on that soon. Now, let's journey across the sea to the rugged highlands of Scotland, where Edinburgh Castle stands as a formidable sentinel over the city. Perched atop Castle Rock, this ancient fortress is not only a symbol of Scotland's storied past, but also a hotspot for paranormal activity, with its walls echoing tales of bloodshed and spectral sightings. Edinburgh Castle's history stretches back over 1,000 years, and its strategic location has made it a focal point of countless battles, sieges, and political intrigue. But it's not just the living who have left their mark here. The castle is said to be haunted by the spirits of those who met untimely ends within its stone walls. One of the most famous apparitions is the ghostly drummer boy, whose phantom beats have been heard echoing through the castle's corridors. Legend has it that the drummer boy appears only when the castle is under threat, a spectral guardian warning of impending danger. Another eerie presence is the phantom piper, whose mournful tunes are said to drift through the tunnels beneath the castle. According to local lore, the piper was sent to explore the underground passages but never returned, and his ghostly music serves as a haunting reminder of his tragic fate. Then there's the castle's dungeon, a place of unimaginable suffering where prisoners were once held in dark, cramped cells. Visitors have reported feeling an oppressive energy in these areas, as if the anguish of those who perished there still lingers. Some have even claimed to hear faint whispers or cries, as though the spirits of the imprisoned are desperate to tell their stories. Edinburgh Castle's blend of history and hauntings makes it a must-visit for those fascinated by the supernatural. Its towering presence and chilling tales continue to captivate both locals and tourists, offering a glimpse into a past where the line between history and legend is often blurred. As we leave the misty heights of Edinburgh Castle, our next destination takes us to the Eerie waters of Italy, where Poveglia Island hides a dark and disturbing past. But more on that soon. Now, let's set sail to the haunting waters of Italy, where Poveglia Island lies shrouded in mystery and despair. This small, abandoned island in the Venetian lagoon has a history so dark and disturbing that it has earned a reputation as one of the most haunted places in the world. Once a quarantine station for plague victims and later a mental asylum, Poveglia's past is steeped in suffering and tragedy, leaving behind an atmosphere thick with unease. During the height of the Black Death in the 14th century, Poveglia Island became a dumping ground for the sick and dying. Thousands of plague victims were brought here, many of whom never left. The island's soil is said to be composed of the ashes of the dead, a grim reminder of the countless lives lost. The sheer scale of death and despair has left an indelible mark, with visitors reporting an overwhelming sense of dread as soon as they set foot on the island. In the early 20th century, the island was repurposed as a mental asylum, adding another layer of horror to its already grim history. Patients were subjected to inhumane treatments, and rumors of cruel experiments conducted by a deranged doctor only deepened the island's sinister reputation. It's said that the doctor eventually went mad himself, leaping from the asylum's bell tower to his death. To this day, some claim to hear the faint tolling of the bell, though it has long since been removed. The island's paranormal activity is as chilling as its history. Ghostly screams and cries are frequently reported, echoing across the desolate landscape as if the tormented souls of the past are still trapped there. Shadowy figures have been seen wandering the ruins, and many who have visited speak of an oppressive energy that seems to cling to the air. Some have even claimed to feel an unseen presence following them, as if the island itself is alive and watching. Poveglia Island's combination of historical horror and supernatural phenomena has made it a place of fascination for ghost hunters and historians alike. Yet, despite its eerie allure, the island remains largely untouched, its secrets buried beneath layers of decay and despair. As we leave the haunting shores of Poveglia, our next destination takes us to the sun-scorched ruins of Bangalore Fort in India, where a cursed love story has left an indelible mark on history. But more on that soon. Now, let's journey from the desolate shores of Poveglia to the sun-baked ruins of Bangalore Fort in Rajasthan, India. This ancient fort, nestled at the edge of the Aravalli Hills, is infamous not only for its crumbling beauty, but also for its chilling curse and paranormal activity. Known as one of the most haunted places in India, Bangalore Fort's eerie reputation is rooted in a tragic legend that has captivated storytellers and ghost hunters for centuries. The tale begins with a sorcerer named Singhia, who fell deeply in love with the beautiful Princess Ratnavati of Bangalore. The princess, however, had no interest in the sorcerer's advances. Determined to win her affection, Singhia devised a plan to enchant her. He tampered with a bottle of perfume she intended to purchase, infusing it with a love potion. But Ratnavati, wise and perceptive, discovered his scheme. In a fit of rage, she threw the bottle onto a large boulder, which rolled downhill and crushed the sorcerer to death. With his dying breath, Singhia cursed the fort and its inhabitants, vowing that no one would ever live there in peace. Shortly after, Bangalore was invaded and destroyed, leaving the fort in ruins. To this day, locals believe the curse remains active, and the fort is said to be haunted by the restless spirits of those who perished. Visitors to Bangalore Fort often report an overwhelming sense of unease, especially after sunset. Ghostly apparitions, disembodied voices, and strange lights have been witnessed within the fort's crumbling walls. The Indian government has even posted signs warning visitors not to enter the fort after dark, adding to its mystique. The fort's tragic history and supernatural phenomena have made it a magnet for paranormal enthusiasts and historians alike. Yet, despite its haunting allure, Bangalore Fort stands as a testament to the enduring power of folklore and the mysteries that linger in the shadows of history. As we leave the cursed ruins of Bangalore, our next stop takes us to the eerie halls of the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, where inspiration for one of the most famous horror novels of all time was born. But more on that soon. Now, let's step into the chilling world of the Stanley Hotel, nestled in the picturesque town of Estes Park, Colorado. This grand hotel, with its white Georgian architecture and sweeping mountain views, might seem like the perfect retreat, but beneath its elegant facade lies a history steeped in mystery and the supernatural. It's no wonder this very hotel inspired Stephen King to pen one of the most iconic horror novels of all time, The Shining. The story goes that King and his wife stayed at the Stanley in the fall of 1974, during the off-season when the hotel was nearly empty. The eerie atmosphere of the deserted hallways and the creaking sounds of the old building sparked King's imagination, leading him to create the Overlook Hotel, the haunted setting of his novel. But the Stanley's connection to the paranormal goes far beyond its role as a muse. Guests and staff alike have reported strange occurrences over the years. One of the most famous tales involves the ghostly piano music that echoes through the empty ballroom, even when no one is playing. Others have claimed to see apparitions wandering the hallways, including the spirit of a former maid who still tends to her duties on the fourth floor. Some visitors have even reported hearing children's laughter or feeling an unseen presence in their rooms. The hotel's history adds to its haunted reputation. Built in 1909 by Freelan Oscar Stanley, co-inventor of the Stanley steamer automobile, the hotel was a luxurious retreat for the wealthy. But over the years, it has seen its share of tragedy, from mysterious deaths to unexplained events. Today, the Stanley embraces its spooky legacy, offering ghost tours and even hosting paranormal investigations. Whether you're a fan of Stephen King's work or simply intrigued by tales of the supernatural, the Stanley Hotel offers a fascinating blend of history and mystery. Its eerie charm continues to draw visitors from around the world, each hoping to catch a glimpse of the otherworldly. As we leave the shadowy halls of the Stanley, our journey takes us next to the ancient and foreboding Leap Castle in Ireland, where a darker and more sinister history awaits. But more on that soon. Now, let's cross the Atlantic and journey to the misty hills of Ireland, where Leap Castle stands as a grim testament to centuries of bloodshed and supernatural terror. Known as one of the most haunted places in the world, this ancient fortress has a history as dark and twisted as the spirits said to roam its halls. Leap Castle's origins date back to the 13th century, built by the O'Bannon clan under the rule of the powerful O'Carroll family. But its picturesque stone walls hide a brutal past. The O'Carrolls were notorious for their ruthless ambition, and the castle became a stage for treachery and murder. One of the most infamous tales involves the Bloody Chapel, where a shocking act of fratricide took place. During a power struggle, one O'Carroll brother is said to have stabbed another during a mass, leaving the chapel drenched in blood. To this day, visitors report feeling an overwhelming sense of dread in this very room, as if the violence of the past still lingers in the air. But the horrors of Leap Castle don't end there. The castle is also home to a malevolent entity known as the Elemental. Described as a shadowy, inhuman figure with a putrid stench, the Elemental is said to be a spirit of pure evil, conjured by dark rituals performed within the castle walls. Witnesses have reported feeling an icy presence, hearing guttural growls, and even seeing the creature's glowing red eyes. Some believe the Elemental is tied to the countless lives lost within the castle, a manifestation of the suffering and chaos that unfolded here. Over the centuries, Leap Castle has seen its share of tragedy, from brutal clan warfare to accidental deaths and unexplained disappearances. Its turbulent history has left an indelible mark, and the castle's current owners have worked to preserve its legacy while respecting the spirits that still call it home. As we step away from the chilling aura of Leap Castle, our next destination takes us to the haunting forests of Japan, where Aokigahara, the so-called suicide forest, holds its own dark secrets. But more on that soon. Now, let's leave the shadowed halls of Leap Castle behind and venture into the dense, foreboding woods of Japan, where Aokigahara Forest awaits with its own haunting legacy. Known as the Suicide Forest, this sprawling expanse at the base of Mount Fuji has become infamous for its tragic history and unsettling atmosphere. But Aokigahara's story is not just one of modern sorrow. It is deeply rooted in centuries of spiritual beliefs and folklore that have shaped its eerie reputation. The forest's name, Aokigahara, translates to Sea of Trees, and its dense canopy creates an almost otherworldly silence where even the wind seems to hesitate. This unnatural quiet has long been associated with the supernatural in Japanese culture. Ancient legends speak of yurei, or restless spirits, who are said to wander the forest, drawn by its isolation and the spiritual energy believed to linger there. These tales have only deepened the forest's mystique, making it a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels unnervingly thin. In more recent times, Aokigahara has gained notoriety as a site of despair. Since the mid-20th century, it has become tragically linked to suicide, with many drawn to its depths as a final destination. The forest's association with death has only intensified its eerie aura, and visitors often report an overwhelming sense of melancholy as they walk its winding path. Some have even claimed to hear whispers or see shadowy figures moving among the trees, as if the forest itself is alive with the spirits of those who never left. Adding to the forest's chilling atmosphere is its unique geography. The volcanic soil creates a labyrinth of caves and rocky terrain, making it easy to lose one's way. Compasses often malfunction here, adding to the sense of disorientation and isolation. This physical unease mirrors the emotional weight that many feel when entering Aokigahara, as if the forest is designed to trap both body and soul. Despite its dark reputation, Aokigahara remains a place of profound natural beauty, with its moss-covered trees and serene landscapes. Yet it is impossible to ignore the undercurrent of sorrow that permeates the air. Efforts have been made to prevent further tragedies, with signs offering messages of hope and urging visitors to reconsider their choices. But for many, the forest's pull is irresistible, a testament to the enduring power of its haunting legacy. As we step away from the silent depths of Aokigahara, our journey takes us next to the strange and unsettling Winchester Mystery House in the United States, where architecture and the supernatural collide in bizarre and fascinating ways. But more on that soon. Now, as we leave the haunting silence of Aokigahara behind, our journey brings us to the enigmatic Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. This sprawling mansion, with its labyrinthine design and eerie history, stands as one of the most peculiar haunted locations in the United States. Built by Sarah Winchester, the widow of William Wirt Winchester, heir to the Winchester rifle fortune, the house is a testament to both architectural madness and supernatural intrigue. Sarah Winchester's story is as fascinating as it is tragic. After the deaths of her infant daughter and husband, she inherited a vast fortune but was consumed by grief and fear. Legend has it that a medium told her the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles were haunting her family, and the only way to appease them was to continuously build a house to confuse them. Whether driven by superstition or madness, Sarah embarked on a construction project that lasted 38 years, resulting in a mansion with 160 rooms, staircases leading to nowhere, doors that open into walls, and windows overlooking other rooms. The house became a maze designed to baffle the spirits she believed were pursuing her. But the Winchester Mystery House is more than just an architectural oddity. It's a hotbed of paranormal activity. Visitors and staff alike have reported hearing ghostly footsteps echoing through the halls, even when no one is around. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures darting through the corridors or felt an icy presence in certain rooms. The most famous of these spirits is said to be Sarah Winchester herself, who is often spotted in the room where she passed away. Others believe the house is haunted by the restless souls of those killed by Winchester rifles, drawn to the mansion by Sarah's attempts to appease them. The house's bizarre design only adds to its unsettling atmosphere. Hallways twist and turn unexpectedly, and rooms are filled with oddities like upside-down columns and secret passageways. It's as if the house itself is alive, constantly shifting to keep its secrets hidden. This sense of disorientation has led many to wonder if Sarah's efforts to confuse the spirits also left a lasting imprint on the house, making it a place where the supernatural feels almost tangible. Today, the Winchester Mystery House is a popular tourist attraction, drawing visitors from around the world who are eager to explore its strange architecture and experience its ghostly legends. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, there's no denying the eerie energy that permeates the mansion. It's a place where history, tragedy, and the unexplained collide, leaving an indelible mark on all who visit. As we step away from the twisting corridors of the Winchester Mystery House, our next destination takes us across the Atlantic to Hauska Castle in the Czech Republic, a fortress shrouded in dark legends and said to be built over a gateway to hell. But more on that soon. Now, as we venture from the perplexing halls of the Winchester Mystery House, our journey takes us to a place steeped in far darker legends, Hauska Castle in the Czech Republic. This medieval fortress, perched atop a rugged cliff, is not just a relic of history but a site shrouded in chilling tales of the supernatural. Unlike most castles built for defense or residence, Hauska Castle is said to have been constructed for a far more sinister purpose, to seal a gateway to hell. The origins of Hauska Castle are as mysterious as the legends that surround it. Built in the 13th century, the castle's location is peculiar. It stands in a remote, uninhabited area, far from any trade routes or strategic points, leading many to question why it was built there at all. According to local folklore, the castle was erected over a massive pit, believed to be a portal to the underworld. Stories describe this pit as a bottomless void, emitting eerie sounds and strange lights, with reports of winged creatures and demonic figures emerging from its depths. Terrified villagers claimed the pit was a direct pathway to hell, and the castle was built to contain whatever lay within. The castle's architecture only adds to its unsettling reputation. Its chapel, located directly above the supposed gateway, is adorned with vivid frescoes depicting demonic battles and otherworldly scenes. These paintings are unusual for a place of worship, further fueling the belief that the chapel was designed to ward off evil spirits. Beneath the chapel lies the infamous pit, now sealed off, but its presence continues to haunt the castle's history. Hauska Castle's dark reputation didn't end in the Middle Ages. During World War II, the Nazis occupied the castle and used it as a research site. Rumors suggest they were conducting experiments into the occult, attempting to harness supernatural forces for their own purposes. While much of this remains speculative, the castle's eerie atmosphere and its connection to such a dark chapter in history only deepen its mystique. Visitors to Hauska Castle have reported a range of paranormal experiences, from hearing disembodied screams to feeling an overwhelming sense of dread in certain areas. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures or felt an invisible presence watching them. The castle's remote location and its association with the occult make it a magnet for ghost hunters and thrill seekers, all drawn to its chilling legends. Hauska Castle is more than just a haunted location. It's a place where myth and history intertwine, creating a narrative that is as compelling as it is terrifying. Whether you believe in the legends or not, there's no denying the castle's ability to captivate and unsettle those who dare to explore its secrets. As we leave the ominous walls of Hauska Castle behind, our next stop takes us beneath the streets of Paris to the catacombs, a labyrinth of tunnels filled with the bones of millions, where the line between the living and the dead blurs in the most haunting way. But more on that soon. Now, as we descend from the chilling heights of Hauska Castle, our journey takes us deep beneath the bustling streets of Paris into the shadowy depths of the catacombs. This vast underground network, stretching for miles beneath the city, is not just a burial site but a haunting reminder of mortality and the fragility of life. Known as the Empire of the Dead, the catacombs hold the remains of over 6 million people, creating an atmosphere that is as solemn as it is eerie. The history of the catacombs begins in the late 18th century, when Paris faced a crisis of overcrowded cemeteries. The city's graveyards were overflowing, leading to unsanitary conditions and the spread of disease. To solve this, authorities decided to relocate the bones of the dead to abandoned limestone quarries beneath the city. What began as a practical solution soon became a macabre spectacle, as the bones were carefully arranged into walls and patterns, creating a labyrinth of death that stretches for miles. Walking through the catacombs is an experience unlike any other. The narrow, dimly lit tunnels are lined with skulls and bones, stacked in intricate designs that are both artistic and unsettling. The air is heavy with silence, broken only by the occasional drip of water or the echo of footsteps. Visitors often describe feeling a profound sense of unease, as if the weight of history and death presses down on them from every direction. But the catacombs are not just a place of quiet reflection. They are also a hotspot for paranormal activity. Over the years, countless visitors have reported ghostly sightings, from shadowy figures darting between the tunnels to the sound of whispers echoing through the empty corridors. Some have even claimed to feel an invisible presence following them, as if the spirits of the dead are watching their every move. These experiences have cemented the catacombs' reputation as one of the most haunted places in the world. The catacombs also hold a darker, more tragic history. During the French Revolution, the tunnels were used as a hiding place for revolutionaries and a burial site for those who fell victim to the guillotine. The remains of famous figures such as Robespierre and Marie Antoinette's confidante, the Princess de Lamballe, are said to rest here, adding a layer of historical intrigue to the already chilling atmosphere. For those brave enough to explore the catacombs, the experience is both humbling and haunting. It's a place where the past feels alive, where the line between the living and the dead blurs in the most unsettling way. Whether you're drawn by the history, the architecture, or the ghostly legends, the catacombs of Paris offer a journey into the heart of darkness that is impossible to forget. As we emerge from the depths of the catacombs, our next destination takes us to the ancient Ram Inn in England, a place where the walls seem to whisper with the echoes of centuries-old horrors. But more on that soon. Leaving the bone-lined tunnels of the catacombs behind, we now step into the shadowy past of the ancient Ram Inn, a medieval inn in England that has earned its reputation as one of the most haunted places in the country. Nestled in the village of Watton-under-Edge, this centuries-old building is steeped in dark history and tales of the supernatural that continue to send shivers down the spines of those who dare to visit. The ancient Ram Inn dates back to the 12th century, and its long history is riddled with stories of tragedy, violence, and unexplained phenomena. Originally built as a lodging house for workers constructing the nearby St. Mary's Church, the inn has witnessed countless events that have left an indelible mark on its walls. Over the years, it has served as a home, a pub, and even a brothel, each chapter adding to its eerie legacy. What sets the ancient Ram Inn apart is its reputation for being a hotspot for paranormal activity. Visitors and paranormal investigators alike have reported encounters with a wide range of ghostly entities, from restless spirits to more sinister forces. Among the most infamous is the presence of demonic entities, said to lurk in the darkest corners of the inn. These malevolent beings are believed to be responsible for the oppressive atmosphere that many describe as overwhelming, with some even claiming to have been physically attacked or pushed by unseen hands. But it's not just demons that haunt the ancient Ram Inn. The spirits of children are also said to roam its halls, their laughter and cries echoing through the empty rooms. These ghostly apparitions are often linked to the inn's darker past, including rumors of pagan rituals and sacrifices that took place on the site long before the building was constructed. Some believe that the land itself is cursed, carrying the weight of ancient practices that have left a lingering energy of despair. The inn's connection to pagan rituals adds another layer of mystery to its haunting. Legends suggest that the site was once a sacred ground for pagan worship, and the construction of the inn may have disturbed the spirits tied to this ancient land. This theory is supported by the discovery of strange markings and symbols carved into the walls, which some believe were meant to ward off evil or contain the restless energies within. For those brave enough to spend a night at the ancient Ram Inn, the experience is often unforgettable. Guests have reported hearing footsteps in empty rooms, feeling sudden drops in temperature, and witnessing objects move on their own. The inn's owner, John Humphreys, who lived there for many years, claimed to have encountered countless spirits during his time, including a ghostly cavalier and a woman in white. His stories have only added to the inn's reputation as a place where the veil between the living and the dead is unnervingly thin. As we prepare to leave the ancient Ram Inn and its chilling tales behind, our journey takes us next to the island of the Dolls in Mexico, a place where childhood innocence takes on a hauntingly sinister form. But more on that soon. Now, as we leave behind the shadowy halls of the ancient Ram Inn, our journey takes us across the ocean to a place where innocence takes on a hauntingly eerie form, the island of the Dolls in Mexico. Nestled in the canals of Xochimilco, just south of Mexico City, this small island is unlike any other. Its trees are draped with hundreds of decaying dolls, their hollow eyes and broken limbs creating an atmosphere that is both unsettling and strangely captivating. But the dolls are more than just a macabre decoration. They are tied to a chilling legend that has made this island one of the most haunted places in the world. The story begins with a tragic event that occurred decades ago. According to local law, a young girl drowned in the canals near the island, her life cut short in a moment of misfortune. The island's caretaker at the time, Julian Santana Barrera, claimed to have witnessed her spirit lingering in the waters. Disturbed by the girl's restless presence, Julian began collecting dolls from the canals and hanging them from the trees, believing they would appease her spirit and protect the island from her wrath. Over time, the collection grew, and the island became a surreal landscape of weathered dolls, their faces frozen in eerie expressions. But the dolls are not just silent witnesses to the island's haunting. Visitors and paranormal investigators have reported strange occurrences that suggest the dolls may be more than mere objects. Some claim to have heard the dolls whisper or giggle, their voices carried on the wind. Others have seen their heads turn or their eyes follow movement as if they were alive. The atmosphere on the island is thick with an unsettling energy, leaving many who visit with a sense of unease that lingers long after they've left. Julian's devotion to the dolls became an obsession, and his life became intertwined with the island's haunting. He spent decades adding to the collection, even as the dolls deteriorated under the elements. His belief in their power was unwavering, and he often spoke of the drowned girl's spirit as if she were a constant presence in his life. Tragically, Julian's own story came to a mysterious end in 2001, when he was found dead in the same canal where the girl had drowned. Some say his death was an accident, while others believe it was the final act of a haunting that had consumed him. Today, the island of the dolls remains a place of fascination and fear. The dolls, now weathered and broken, continue to hang from the trees, their presence a testament to Julian's strange devotion and the legend that inspired it. For those who visit, the island offers a glimpse into a world where the line between the living and the dead feels unnervingly thin. As we prepare to move on from this haunting tale, our next stop takes us to the RMS Queen Mary, a retired ocean liner with its own share of ghostly passengers. But more on that soon. Now, as we step away from the eerie silence of the island of the dolls, our journey brings us to the grand and storied RMS Queen Mary, a retired ocean liner that now rests in Long Beach, California. Once a symbol of luxury and elegance, this historic ship has become a hotspot for paranormal activity, earning its reputation as one of the most haunted places in the United States. The RMS Queen Mary first set sail in 1936, serving as a transatlantic passenger liner and later as a troopship during World War II. Its decks have carried royalty, celebrities, and soldiers, but today they are said to carry something far more mysterious: ghosts. Over the years, countless visitors and staff have reported chilling encounters that suggest the ship is far from resting in peace. One of the most famous spirits said to haunt the Queen Mary is that of a drowned sailor. According to legend, during the ship's wartime service, a young sailor was tragically crushed to death in the engine room. His ghost, often referred to as Half-Hatch Harry, is said to linger near the area where he met his untimely end. Witnesses have reported hearing his anguished cries and seeing his shadowy figure, as if he is forever trapped in the moment of his death. But the engine room isn't the only place where the supernatural seems to thrive. The ship's first-class swimming pool, once a glamorous retreat for passengers, is now considered one of the most haunted areas on board. Despite being drained and closed to the public, the pool area is said to be a hotspot for ghostly activity. Visitors have reported hearing the splashing of water, the laughter of children, and even seeing apparitions of women in vintage swimsuits, as if the pool still echoes with the memories of its lively past. The Queen Mary's haunted reputation extends beyond these well-known spirits. Guests staying in the ship's hotel have reported unexplained noises, flickering lights, and even the sensation of being touched by unseen hands. Some have claimed to see full-bodied apparitions wandering the hallways or sitting in the ship's grand ballroom, as if the ship's former passengers never truly left. As we prepare to leave the RMS Queen Mary behind, our next destination takes us to the Sedlec ossuary in the Czech Republic, a place where the line between the living and the dead is marked by the bones of over 40,000 people. But more on that soon. Now, as we leave the haunting echoes of the RMS Queen Mary behind, our journey takes a darker turn as we arrive at the Sedlec ossuary in the Czech Republic, a place often referred to as the Bone Church. This small chapel, located beneath the cemetery church of All Saints in the town of Kutná Hora, is unlike any other. Its walls, chandeliers, and decorations are crafted entirely from human bones, creating an atmosphere that is both macabre and strangely beautiful. The remains of over 40,000 people are arranged here, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of death. The history of the Sedlec ossuary is deeply intertwined with one of the most devastating events in human history, the Black Death. In the 14th century, the bubonic plague swept through Europe, claiming the lives of millions. The cemetery in Sedlec became a mass burial site, with thousands of victims laid to rest here. As the cemetery grew overcrowded, a chapel was built to house the bones, and in the late 19th century, a local woodcarver was tasked with organizing the remains. What he created was both haunting and artistic, transforming the bones into intricate decorations, including a massive chandelier said to contain every bone in the human body. Visitors to the Sedlec ossuary often describe an overwhelming sense of unease as they step inside. The air feels heavy, and the silence is punctuated by faint whispers, as if the souls of the dead are still lingering among their remains. Some have reported hearing soft murmurs or feeling an unseen presence brush past them, while others claim to see shadows moving in the corners of the chapel. The atmosphere is undeniably eerie, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels unnervingly thin. But the Sedlec ossuary is more than just a macabre tourist attraction. It serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of life and the shared fate that unites us all. The bones, once belonging to individuals with their own stories and dreams, now form a collective monument to mortality. It's a place that invites reflection, forcing visitors to confront their own mortality while marveling at the artistry born from such a grim history. As we prepare to move on from the haunting beauty of the Sedlec ossuary, our next destination brings us to the Whaley House in San Diego, California, a place often called the most haunted house in America. But more on that soon. Now, as we step away from the chilling artistry of the Sedlec ossuary, our journey brings us to the sun-soaked streets of San Diego, California, where the Whaley House stands as one of America's most infamous haunted locations. Built in 1857 by Thomas Whaley, this historic home has earned a reputation as a hotbed of paranormal activity, drawing ghost hunters and curious visitors from around the world. But what makes this house so haunted? Let's uncover its eerie past. The Whaley House was not just a family home, it also served as a general store, a courthouse, and even a theater. But its history is steeped in tragedy. The land on which the house was built was once the site of public executions, and it's said that the spirit of a man named Yankee Jim, who was hanged there in 1852, still lingers. Visitors have reported hearing the sound of heavy footsteps, as if someone is pacing the floors, and some have even claimed to see the ghostly figure of a man swinging from a noose in the courtyard. But Yankee Jim isn't the only restless soul said to haunt the Whaley House. Thomas Whaley himself has been spotted multiple times, often seen in the parlor or near the staircase. His presence is described as calm and watchful, as if he's still keeping an eye on the home he built. Other ghostly figures include Thomas's wife, Anna, and their daughter, Violet, whose untimely death at just 22 years old has left her spirit tied to the house. Visitors have reported hearing the faint sound of a child's laughter or the rustle of a Victorian-era dress, as if the family's presence remains imprinted on the home. The Whaley House has been investigated by numerous paranormal experts, many of whom have captured unexplained phenomena, from sudden temperature drops to disembodied voices. Some visitors have even reported feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness or unease, as if the house itself is alive with the memories of its tragic past. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, there's no denying the Whaley House's ability to leave a lasting impression. As we leave the Whaley House and its ghostly residents behind, our next stop takes us to the other side of the world, to the Monte Cristo homestead in Australia, a place with its own dark and tragic history. But more on that soon. Now, as we cross the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, our journey brings us to the rugged landscapes of New South Wales, Australia, where the Monte Cristo homestead stands as a chilling testament to the country's haunted history. Known as Australia's most haunted house, this historic homestead has a dark and tragic past that continues to draw both skeptics and believers alike. Built in 1885 by Christopher William Crawley, the homestead was once a thriving estate, but its grandeur is overshadowed by the sorrow and death that linger within its walls. The Monte Cristo homestead is no stranger to tragedy. Over the years, numerous deaths occurred on the property, each adding to its eerie reputation. One of the most heartbreaking stories is that of a young maid who fell or was pushed from the balcony, her life ending in a tragic instant. Her spirit is said to haunt the homestead, with visitors reporting the sound of her desperate cries echoing through the halls. Another grim tale involves a stable boy who met a fiery end after being locked in the harness room, where he perished in a blaze. His ghost is often seen near the stables, a shadowy figure that vanishes as quickly as it appears. But the sorrow doesn't end there. The Crawley family themselves were not spared from misfortune. Harold Crawley, the youngest son, died of measles at just 11 months old, and his tiny spirit is said to linger in the nursery. Visitors have reported hearing the faint sound of a baby's cry or feeling an inexplicable chill in the room. Even Mrs. Crawley, who lived in the homestead for decades after her husband's death, is said to remain in spirit, her presence felt in the form of cold spots and the faint scent of lavender, her favorite fragrance. The Monte Cristo homestead has become a magnet for paranormal investigators, many of whom have captured strange phenomena, from unexplained lights to ghostly apparitions. Some visitors have even reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread or being touched by unseen hands. The homestead's caretakers have shared countless stories of doors slamming shut on their own, objects moving inexplicably, and the sound of footsteps echoing through empty rooms. As we leave the Monte Cristo homestead and its restless spirits behind, our next destination takes us to the majestic Canadian Rockies, where the Banff Springs Hotel awaits with its own tales of ghostly encounters. But more on that soon. Now, as we journey from the sun-scorched plains of Australia to the snow-capped peaks of the Canadian Rockies, we arrive at the Banff Springs Hotel, a place where luxury meets the supernatural. Nestled in the heart of Banff National Park, this grand hotel, often referred to as the Castle in the Rockies, has been a beacon of elegance since it first opened its doors in 1888. But beneath its opulent facade lies a history steeped in mystery and ghostly tales, making it one of Canada's most haunted locations. The most famous spirit said to haunt the Banff Springs Hotel is the Bride of Banff Springs, a spectral figure often seen wandering the halls in her wedding dress. The story goes that decades ago, a young bride was descending the grand staircase on her wedding day when tragedy struck. In her excitement, she tripped and fell, her life ending in a moment of what should have been joyous celebration. Since then, her ghost has been spotted in the hotel, her ethereal form gliding through the corridors, her face etched with sorrow. Some guests have even reported seeing her reflection in the mirrors, only to turn and find no one there. But the bride isn't the only restless spirit said to inhabit the hotel. Room 873 in particular has gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Guests staying in this room have reported hearing unexplained whispers, feeling sudden drops in temperature, and even witnessing objects move on their own. Some believe the room is haunted by a former bellman who met an untimely end, his spirit unable to leave the place he once served. The Banff Springs Hotel's ghostly reputation has made it a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts and curious travelers alike. Many have shared stories of encountering shadowy figures in the hallways, hearing phantom footsteps in empty ballrooms, or feeling an unseen presence in the historic suites. The hotel's staff, too, have their own tales to tell, from flickering lights to the sound of a piano playing in the dead of night, despite no one being in the room. As we leave the haunting beauty of the Banff Springs Hotel behind, our next stop takes us to the ancient Ram Inn, where darker rituals and malevolent spirits await. But more on that soon. Now, as we step away from the grandeur of the Banff Springs Hotel, our journey takes a darker turn as we revisit the ancient Ram Inn, a place where history and horror intertwine in the most unsettling ways. This medieval inn, located in the quiet village of Watton-under-Edge in England, is often described as one of the most haunted buildings in the country. But beyond its ghostly reputation lies a history steeped in dark rituals and malevolent forces that continue to unsettle visitors to this day. The ancient Ram Inn's origins date back to the 12th century, and its long, tumultuous history is filled with tales of violence, tragedy, and the occult. One of the most chilling aspects of the inn is its connection to pagan rituals and alleged satanic practices. It's said that the inn was built on an ancient pagan burial ground, a site believed to hold powerful, otherworldly energy. Over the centuries, this energy has drawn those with darker intentions, leading to reports of rituals performed within its walls. Some claim that the inn was used as a meeting place for practitioners of black magic, who conducted ceremonies in the dead of night, leaving behind an aura of malevolence that lingers to this day. Among the most infamous spirits said to haunt the inn is a demonic entity known as the Elemental. This malevolent presence is described as a shadowy, inhuman figure that exudes an overwhelming sense of dread. Visitors have reported being physically attacked by the entity, with some claiming to have been scratched, pushed, or even choked by an unseen force. The inn's former owner, John Humphreys, who lived there for decades, often spoke of his encounters with the Elemental, describing it as a being of pure evil that seemed to feed on fear. But the Elemental is not the only dark presence within the ancient Ram Inn. The building is also said to be haunted by the spirits of children, their cries echoing through the halls late at night. One room, known as the Bishop's Room, is particularly notorious. It's believed to be the site of a gruesome murder, and those who have stayed in the room report feeling an oppressive, suffocating atmosphere, as if the walls themselves are alive with malice. Some have even claimed to see the ghostly figure of a bishop, his face twisted in anger, standing at the foot of the bed. The inn's dark history doesn't end there. Beneath the building lies a hidden tunnel, rumored to have been used by smugglers and occultists alike. This underground passage adds another layer of mystery to the inn, with some suggesting it was a site of secret rituals and sacrifices. The tunnel's exact purpose remains unknown, but its presence only deepens the sense of unease that permeates the ancient Ram Inn. As we prepare to leave the shadows of the ancient Ram Inn behind, our next destination takes us back to the Winchester Mystery House, where madness and mystery collide in one of America's most bizarre architectural wonders. But more on that soon. Now, shifting our focus from the shadowy depths of the ancient Ram Inn, we turn our attention to the enigmatic Winchester Mystery House, a place where architecture and the supernatural collide in the most peculiar ways. This sprawling mansion in San Jose, California, is not just a marvel of eccentric design, but also a testament to the madness of its creator, Sarah Winchester. Her obsession with building a house to confuse and trap spirits has left behind a labyrinthine structure that continues to baffle and intrigue visitors to this day. Sarah Winchester, the heiress to the Winchester rifle fortune, was a woman consumed by grief and fear. After the deaths of her infant daughter and husband, she became convinced that the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles were haunting her. Desperate to escape their wrath, she sought the advice of a medium who told her that the only way to appease the spirits was to build a house so complex and confusing that they could never find her. This advice set Sarah on a relentless 38-year construction spree, resulting in a mansion with staircases leading to nowhere, doors opening into walls and hallways that twist and turn without purpose. The sheer scale of the Winchester Mystery House is staggering. With 160 rooms, 40 staircases, and 2,000 doors, the mansion is a maze of architectural oddities. Sarah's obsession with constant construction meant that the house was never truly finished. Workers labored around the clock, adding new rooms, corridors, and features at her whim. It's said that she would often receive instructions from the spirits in her dreams, dictating the next addition to the house. This erratic building process created a structure that defies logic, with rooms stacked on top of each other and hallways that seem to defy the laws of physics. One of the most famous features of the house is the door to nowhere, a second-story door that opens to a sheer drop to the ground below. Another peculiarity is the staircase that ascends only 7 steps before hitting the ceiling. These bizarre elements were not the result of poor planning but rather deliberate attempts to confuse and disorient the spirits Sarah believed were pursuing her. She even installed a seance room where she would spend hours communicating with the dead, seeking guidance on how to further complicate the house's design. The psychological toll of Sarah's obsession was immense. She lived in constant fear, rarely leaving the house and sleeping in a different room each night to evade the spirits. Her paranoia and isolation only deepened as the years went by, and the house became a physical manifestation of her inner turmoil. When she passed away in 1922, construction on the mansion ceased, leaving behind a haunting monument to her madness. As we prepare to leave the Winchester Mystery House behind, our next stop takes us to the Island of the Dolls, where a caretaker's descent into obsession created one of the most chilling locations in the world. But more on that soon. Now, as we journey from the labyrinthine halls of the Winchester Mystery House, we find ourselves drawn to a place where innocence and horror intertwine in the most unsettling way: the Island of the Dolls. Nestled in the canals of Xochimilco, Mexico, this eerie island is a haunting testament to one man's descent into obsession and despair. Its story begins with Julian Santana Barrera, the island's caretaker, whose life became inextricably linked to the dolls that now hang from its trees, their glassy eyes staring out into the void. Julian's story is one of tragedy and mystery. In the early 1950s, he claimed to have discovered the body of a young girl who had drowned in the canal near the island. Though the details of her death remain unclear, Julian was deeply affected by the discovery. Soon after, he began to hear whispers and cries in the night, which he believed to be the voice of the drowned girl's spirit. Desperate to appease her, he started collecting dolls from the canals and nearby trash heaps, hanging them from the trees as offerings to calm her restless soul. What began as a gesture of compassion soon spiraled into an all-consuming obsession. Julian spent decades scouring the waterways for dolls, amassing hundreds of them. He repaired their broken limbs, cleaned their weathered faces, and arranged them across the island in increasingly elaborate displays. Over time, the dolls became more than mere offerings. They became his companions, his protectors, and some say his tormentors. Visitors to the island reported that the dolls seemed to move on their own, their heads turning or their eyes following those who dared to walk among them. Julian's life became a solitary one, marked by isolation and an unshakable belief that the dolls were alive. He claimed they spoke to him, warning him of danger or guiding his actions. This belief grew so intense that he rarely left the island, dedicating every waking moment to maintaining his macabre collection. The dolls, with their cracked faces and missing limbs, became a reflection of Julian's own fractured psyche, a man consumed by grief and haunted by the spirit he could never fully appease. Tragically, Julian's story came to an end in 2001, when he was found drowned in the same canal where he had discovered the girl decades earlier. Some say his death was an accident, while others believe it was the final act of a man who had become as much a prisoner of the island as the dolls themselves. Today, the island of the dolls stands as a chilling monument to Julian's life and his unrelenting obsession. Visitors who brave its eerie atmosphere often report feeling watched, as if the dolls themselves are still guarding the island, their hollow eyes bearing witness to the caretaker's tragic descent. As we leave the haunting shores of the island of the dolls, our next destination takes us to the Stanley Hotel, where a famous author's stay would inspire one of the most iconic horror stories of all time. But more on that soon. Now, as we step away from the chilling tale of the island of the dolls, our journey brings us to a place where fiction and reality blur in the most spine-tingling way, the Stanley Hotel. Nestled in the picturesque town of Estes Park, Colorado, this grand hotel is not only known for its stunning mountain views, but also for its role in inspiring one of the most iconic horror novels of all time, Stephen King's The Shining. It was in the fall of 1974 that King and his wife, Tabitha, checked into the Stanley Hotel for a brief stay. At the time, the hotel was preparing to close for the winter season, leaving the couple as some of the only guests in the sprawling, eerily quiet building. King's experience that night would become the spark for his masterpiece. As he wandered the empty hallways, the creaking floors and flickering lights seemed to whisper stories of their own. He later described the atmosphere as overwhelmingly ominous, a feeling that would later permeate the pages of The Shining. The Stanley Hotel has fully embraced its haunted reputation, leaning into the legacy of King's novel and the countless ghostly tales that surround it. Visitors today can explore the very room where King stayed, room 217, which is said to be one of the most haunted spots in the hotel. Reports of phantom laughter, unexplained footsteps, and even the apparition of a friendly maid have made this room a must-visit for paranormal enthusiasts. But the hauntings don't stop there. The hotel's grand ballroom, once a hub of social gatherings, is now a hotspot for ghostly activity. Guests have reported hearing the faint strains of music and the sound of laughter, as if a party from another era is still in full swing. The fourth floor, known as the spirited floor, is particularly notorious for its playful yet unsettling energy, with reports of children's laughter and the sound of running feet echoing through the halls. The Stanley Hotel has also become a destination for those seeking a brush with the supernatural. It offers ghost tours, paranormal investigations, and even an annual horror film festival, all of which celebrate its eerie history. For fans of The Shining, the hotel has even recreated the infamous hedge maze from the film adaptation, adding another layer of chilling allure to its already haunting atmosphere. As we prepare to leave the Stanley Hotel behind, our final destination takes us deep beneath the streets of Paris to the catacombs, where the bones of millions tell a story of history, mystery, and the unknown. But more on that soon. Now, as we descend deeper into the shadowy depths of the catacombs of Paris, we uncover a darker layer to its already haunting history, the stories of those who ventured in and never returned. Beneath the bustling streets of the French capital lies a labyrinth of tunnels stretching over 200 miles, a maze so vast and intricate that even seasoned explorers can lose their way. For centuries, these catacombs have been a place of fascination and fear, but they have also claimed lives, adding to their reputation as one of the most perilous and eerie locations in the world. One of the most infamous tales is that of Philibert Aspert, a doorkeeper who disappeared in the catacombs in 1793. Aspert had reportedly ventured into the tunnels in search of a hidden stash of liquor, but he never emerged. His remains were discovered 11 years later, just a short distance from an exit. To this day, a memorial plaque marks the spot where his body was found, a grim reminder of the dangers that lurk in the catacombs. In more recent times, the catacombs have continued to claim victims. In 1993, a young woman named Odette was exploring the tunnels with a group of friends when she became separated from them. Despite extensive search efforts, her body was not found until 2 years later, deep within the labyrinth. Her tragic story serves as a chilling warning to those who dare to venture into the catacombs unprepared. The catacombs are not only a place of physical danger but also a psychological one. The oppressive darkness, the endless tunnels, and the overwhelming silence can play tricks on the mind, leading even experienced explorers to panic and lose their bearings. Stories abound of people hearing whispers, seeing shadowy figures, or feeling an unseen presence following them through the tunnels. These experiences, whether real or imagined, only add to the catacombs' eerie allure. Despite the risks, the catacombs continue to draw adventurers, historians, and thrill seekers from around the world. For some, the allure lies in uncovering the secrets of Paris's past, while others are drawn by the thrill of exploring one of the most haunted places on Earth. Yet the catacombs remain a place of mystery and danger, where the line between history and horror blurs, and where the lost souls of the past seem to linger in the shadows. As we conclude our journey through these 25 haunted locations, we are reminded of the powerful connection between history and the supernatural. Each place we've explored carries with it a story, a tale of tragedy, mystery, or the unexplained, that continues to captivate and terrify us. Which of these locations do you find the most intriguing? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more historical mysteries. Until next time, stay curious and maybe keep the lights on. As we wrap up our journey through these 25 haunted locations, it's impossible not to be struck by the profound connection between history and the supernatural. Each place we've explored carries a unique story, a tale of tragedy, mystery, or the unexplained, that continues to captivate and terrify us. From the Tower of London, where the spirits of Anne Boleyn and the princes in the tower linger, to the eerie silence of Aokigahara Forest in Japan, these locations are more than just haunted, they are windows into the past, filled with echoes of lives lost and legends born. The chilling tales of the Myrtles Plantation, the Winchester Mystery House, and the catacombs of Paris remind us that history is not always written in ink but sometimes in whispers and shadows. These places are not just settings for ghost stories, they are living testaments to the events that shaped them, where the line between fact and folklore blurs. Whether it's the cursed ruins of Bangar Fort in India or the ghostly halls of the Stanley Hotel, each location invites us to explore the mysteries that lie beneath the surface. So, which of these haunted places left the deepest impression on you? Was it the tragic history of the ancient Ram Inn, the eerie beauty of the Island of the Dolls, or the spine-tingling legends of Leap Castle? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this journey through history and hauntings, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more explorations into the world's most fascinating mysteries. Until next time, stay curious and maybe keep the lights on.